Hello and welcome to the IDTANA Storytellers. The IDTANA Archival Committee has been tasked with capturing the stories of some of our most influential members over the years. Our committee's goal is to gather these stories to benefit our organization's teachers, families, and dancers, and to preserve North American Irish dance history for generations to come, honoring those who came before us and ensuring their names are not lost for those who come after us.
I am in the beautiful home in the state of Connecticut with Patricia Lenihan. I am especially honored to have been chosen to interview you because not only was Patty Kay my teacher and mentor, she is my dearest friend in life, and she has helped shape my life in the world of Irish dancing.
Thank you, Patty.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me here. So why don't we start from the beginning and tell us a little bit about your early childhood, where you were born, and how you first became involved with Irish dance.
So we are going back a long time then.
Okay.
When I started Irish dancing. I started Irish dancing when I was about 7 years old, 7 years of age. And I'd have to believe that that was about the age that children were starting, unlike today's classes where teachers are taking in dancers to learn Irish step dancing at age 2. That's not likely to happen, but it is, the ages are starting much earlier.
Do you recall the year that you started dancing?
Well, if I started at 7, I'm going to be telling you my age.
True.
I started at 7, so that was back in the late 1940s. That would be like 1948.
Okay. And how did you arrive on a teacher? Were there many teachers teaching in the area of Bridgeport where you grew up?
Well, there were not. The Irish dance teachers were at a nominal number. The Irish dance teachers that I would have known were in the big cities. Go north, you go to Boston, and a number of teachers up there. And then the other way, south, is to Manhattan, to New York. Different places in New York. The teacher in Connecticut was Kathleen Mulkern, came up from Stamford to starting in maybe Norwalk, Connecticut, then to Bridgeport, and then on up to New Haven and Hartford. She actually taught in all of Westchester County and then several places in Connecticut. So she was the one that would have been teaching in my area where I lived.
Okay.
And my dad would drive me, so we weren't going to go too far. You know, we would go for as long as it took to get to class, and that was about it.
Well, certainly money was not as available in those days as it was today. Do you have any memories of what your classes were like? Like, what kind of shoes did you wear? What did you do for music? What kind of dances did you learn?
I have very good memories of Irish dancing because my classes as a young person, we did the same thing many times, weekly, the same steps. And we were in a war veterans hall, Catholic War Veterans Hall. And Kathleen would have a line of children up behind her. She taught with her back to us. And she would do the steps, and then we would repeat the steps. Our lesson started with the jig. We started with the light jig, and then went on to the reel, and then finally to the heavier dances. The hornpipe would come before the treble jig, which we called the double jig. It wasn't a treble jig then. We went on with the hornpipe. And we had a routine in the light jig. There were 6 steps. In the reel, there were, I think, 7. In the hornpipe, there were 8 steps that we did. First step, everybody got to know, everybody did it. Second step, etc. So yeah, I do have great recollection of those steps to this day.
Wow. Now, tell me a little bit about when you started going to Feshina. Do you recall where they were located? Can you tell me a little bit about the musicians, costumes, shoes, etc.?
I can tell you a little bit. The musicians were either accordion or violin. And I think I probably started going to feshes around age 12, maybe.
Okay, so that would be in the early 1950s?
I think so, yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and what would those festina be?
We could go up to Massachusetts. And we went to Massachusetts for a good many years until some of the organizers of the festina in Massachusetts decided to close it down to Massachusetts residents only.
Oh.
So the competitors from New York and Connecticut were blocked out of some of the Massachusetts feshes. And we would go to feshes in New Haven, Connecticut. New Haven always ran a very good fesh and field day. And the Gaelic American Club in Bridgeport, which is now in Fairfield, the Gaelic Club in Bridgeport ran a fesh every year at Fairfield University that was very well attended. There would be a football game. The Barrett Pipe Band from, I believe they were from Long Island, they'd come and play. Many of the players in the band were also dance competitors.
And tell us about the...
Let me get back to traveling. We started up north in Boston, and then few in Connecticut, and then all the way down to New York, where United Irish Counties had run a big fesh for years. And then soon after United Irish Counties had festina, Erin Minstrel Society, another Irish organization in New York, they started. And that was as far south as we went. I don't know if there was anything then when we first started. I don't know if there was anything in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. We went as far as Massachusetts because somehow that was easier to drive than going through New York into New Jersey, the heavy traffic, etc. And as we said earlier about, there was also a money thing. You weren't going to go every day to or every weekend to a dance competition.
So Patty Kay, tell me a little bit more about the number of competitors back in the early 50s.
Speaking about the number, we're talking about, for instance, the UICA, United Irish Counties Association, their fesh, which was the largest fesh in New York. It may have been the largest in the country, but because I don't know the numbers in Chicago, which also would have had big feshes, which we never went as far as, just for many reasons. But anyway, the United Irish Counties fesh would have hundreds of competitors, and you would get up and you would dance your, excuse me, you would dance your round. You'd be in a line of anywhere from 50 to 100 kids, and that would be the same number for 3-hand dances. When I was teaching, I was sending down 3 hands, always 3 hands to go to the New York fesh, and 4 hands. And the dancers would wait in line for minimum an hour, and they would get up and do their routine, and that's as far as they would get for that day. They would have to read their results in the Irish newspaper, the Irish Echo. So after the fesh, after you danced, you continue your day of fun. You weren't going home after you danced. You went to the fesh to spend the day, meet your friends from other cities, other states, and you'd hang out with them and you'd have a good time. It wasn't all about the competition. And there was no issue about not getting your award on the day or not knowing where you ended up. So you looked forward to the newspaper on the following Wednesday.
I can actually remember myself as a kid, running every Wednesday to get the Echo to see
how you did.
How we did.
And you knew that's the way you were going to get the message,
right?
How you would get the news about how you did. You weren't asking the committee, can we find out now? Can we find out? You knew that was the way it was going to be.
This is the way it was done.
Yeah, that's the way it was done.
Yeah. So now something very special happened to you in 1957.
Well, it was, it was in 1957. Excuse me. was a nice award. You know, there was 1, 2, and 3 awards. And I happened to be the winner of a beautiful trophy donated by Irish Airlines to the FESH. And the Irish Airlines had wanted the winner of the first place in the hornpipe to get this award. So as it turned out, I got the award, delighted to get it. And in addition to the beautiful trophy, they invited my mom and myself into Manhattan to go to a lovely restaurant with, I think there were 6 representatives of Irish Airlines there. And we had this lovely luncheon. And I was like a little scared 16-year-old there, but I did my best to eat right and enjoy it. So yeah, it was wonderful. It was very nice to get.
What was the trophy like?
It was a big, you know, it wasn't a cup. It was a stand-up trophy with a wooden base and, you know, a trophy cup on top of it, but not the big silver cups as we see today.
Okay. And were you able to keep that trophy?
I was, yes.
Oh, that's marvelous.
Yes.
What a wonderful memory
to
share.
It's a wonderful memory. Very happy and very happy that my mom was able to be a guest, my guest, for the day.
Oh,
yeah. She was very proud.
Of course.
Yeah, it was good.
Well, I'm learning so much information. This is fascinating, Patty Kay. Can you now share with us what were your costumes like and what were your dancing shoes like?
I can remember that, but I would like to say now that you're learning so much and enjoying our conversation, and I had to look back on some of my collections and try to pull out some ideas and thoughts that would be interest to our viewing public. And in looking up the history of Irish dance, which we're not doing so much now, it's our history, Patty Kay's and Patty's history, that I think Irish dance history has been well covered over the years by Dr. John Cullinan. He was so alert, such a great collector of information from all parts of Ireland, and then he also did something, I believe, in Irish dance in North America. So, getting back to
your costuming,
our costuming, something a little bit different was the first costume that I wore was a plaid, a green and black and white plaid kilt skirt, and a black velvet jacket with button down, came just below your waist, and a plaid shawl over your left shoulder with a nice big Tara brooch. And we had a little bit of lace here, which would be like some of the dresses, if you remember the dresses that were being worn. Everybody wore embroidered or little collar, the lace collar. So I think this little piece of lace here on our black velvet jackets took the place of the crochet, on the dress. One thing I would like to mention while we're talking about our costumes, we at the Mulcairn School used to wear the medals that we had been awarded in the dance competitions. We wore them when we wore shows, when we were doing shows. And audience were always very interested in seeing and hearing the jingle of all the bells. And all of our boys had numerous medals, the girls had numerous medals. So it was kind of interesting to see, and certainly different than our display of awards today.
Speaking of boys, what kind of costumes did the boys wear in your school at the time?
We're still back in time. My costume first was the plaid skirt that we spoke about and the black velvet jacket. And our boys wore the plaid vest, white shirt, black tie, and black pants.
Okay.
We were not in kilts yet, which was a very good thing for our boys. I'm not sure our boys would have been happy about wearing kilts. They eventually went over, a couple of them, because they were still competing, went to the more traditional kilt for an Irish male dancer. But I will tell you, as a teacher, it didn't help bringing new boys into the class. The boys knew, or the young boys that had not done but had seen Irish step dancing, saw boys in skirts, and that turned so many boys you know, the interest. We lost the interest when they saw the costume. We wore black tights with the plaid skirt. We wore regular gillies. The sole of the gillies was much longer from the tip of the toe to the back of your heel, unlike our gillies today that have the good solid base of solid leather, which does not, you were able to turn your toes under so much more readily now because of the position of that piece of leather at the bottom of your shoe. So ours were just very flat looking. Hopefully our feet didn't look flat when we were dancing in them. And the hard shoe, or the jig shoe, mine was a black leather tie shoe. And I think at first we didn't have the nails, and then we eventually went to another black leather. The heel was a little bit higher, and then we started using nails. The nails was making the sound. We never, of course, never ever wore taps. And I mean, that was not allowed then. It was not, still to this day, we're not a tap dance organization, dance school. My shoes, I remember my shoes were well worn and I hardly polished them. Maybe I would if I was going out to do a show, but I did a show. Actually, it was a TV show. It was the, what is it? Let me just think for a minute. And the name of the show, I was just talking to you about that. I couldn't recall what it was. And as a matter of fact, I think it's back on television today. The name of the show was To Tell the Truth. Now, we were going to entertain on To Tell the Truth, but one of us had to be telling the truth. So there were 3 people on, and I was the one that was the real Irish dancer. So the panel asked all the questions, and then they tell you how they arrived at who was the real Irish dancer. And they recognized me by my shoes. They were the most worn shoes. I think I just said to you, I didn't polish them too often, but, it was identifiable by that. So I was the real Irish dancer, but then our troupe did, our four-hand did a little number for national television, To Tell the Truth.
How exciting.
It was exciting, and it was fun.
And this was in New York City?
Yes, yep, New York TV.
What a fabulous memory.
Yep.
How exciting.
And we also did, further on down the line, we did a TV show with Tom Bergeron. And we were the guest, and another guest was Joan Rivers. She came with her little puppy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so we were quite happy to see Joan, who was a massive star, as you well know.
Yes.
And then it was very exciting to appear on the Tom Bergeron show. That was on Fox National Television.
That is so exciting.
A lot of good memories. Lots of good memories.
That was a big deal back in the 50s. And
well, that part of what I'm saying, Tom Bergeron would not have been in the 50s and 60s. To Tell the Truth could have been in the 50s, but Tom Bergeron would have been later.
A little bit later.
But still a wonderful thing, very exciting.
Wonderful experience.
National TV.
Yes. So Kathleen obviously was very proud of your accomplishments.
She was.
And because of that, she decided to bring you into New York to meet her teacher.
Correct. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
That was quite an experience. I will tell you, we were very anxious. I probably was maybe 15 at the time. And we had often heard about Professor McKenna in New York. We would never see him. Actually, going down to his studio where he taught, we learned that Professor McKenna walked with a cane. Professor McKenna had been struck with polio as a younger person, and he would walk with a cane, had a very raspy, almost like a smoker's. I don't know if he smoked. I didn't know the man personally, believe. So Professor McKenna was up in front of us and teaching, and how he would teach is he would lean on his cane, and the foot that was strong and able to do steps would tap out all of the beats for us while he was leaning on his cane. It's a wonder. I mean, I have experienced polio victims that have ended in wheelchairs their life. And there was a man teaching Irish dance that had suffered from...
It's remarkable.
It is remarkable.
It's remarkable.
And there's one other person that Kathleen had mentioned to me, speaking about old-time teachers, was a Mr. Murphy. She took some classes with Mr. Murphy. I don't have any information on Mr. Murphy. I think she just kind of talked about it in passing more than what his qualifications were, or his style of dance, or anything like that. But there was another person that was teaching Kathleen at the time.
We'll get Dr. John Cullinan to get on that for us,
we need
so
to
we can find out who this Mr. Murphy is. No relation to me. So now we're up to 1963, and something extraordinary happened in your life.
It certainly did.
Tell us about that.
In 1963, Kathleen, I'm still dancing as a student with Kathleen, took a group of her best dancers. Now, her best dancers had a name within the school. The name of the dancers were the Emerald Dancers. And there were always about 12 in the group. They came from Bridgeport, from Waterbury, from Hartford, and Kathleen had a joint class with all of these dancers that became the Emerald Dancers. So she and her husband Dick had arranged a tour for us, a tour of Ireland. We went on a 6-week tour, and 4 of the weeks we were doing shows, and 2 of the weeks we could go. We all had family in Ireland, so we had the opportunity. It was my first time in Ireland, and first time to see all of my family's
In Leitrim?
In County Leitrim, yes. I went to see my mother's sisters, my father's cousins, because most of my father's brothers were out here already. I did meet members of both sides of our family, which was wonderful. And we were very, very well received in Ireland. In 1963, Irish step dancing and Irish traditional music, I feel, was at a low point in Ireland. We found they were very strong into country and Western. And we, of course, our group would be all involved with traditional music. So I think it was kind of a novel idea to have these Yanks coming over to display Irish dancing. But I will tell you, every ballroom that we went into, we were so well respected and accepted. And I think we made the Irish people very proud that these Yanks were bringing Irish step dancing to their home. We had stayed in Sligo at Strand Hill. There was a ballroom there. We stayed, 16 of us stayed in one house. You can imagine what that was like. We were mostly teenagers and young 20s. And 16 of us in the one house. It probably had 6 bedrooms, but it wasn't enough. But we didn't care. We were fine. And we traveled then from Galway. I think we went all the way down to Cork. I have a lovely poster here for you to look at. It's from 1963. It was a beautifully displayed poster at the site, and I'm able to have a copy of that.
You, at this point, had changed costumes, or?
We did. We had been in the black velvet jacket and the plaid skirt, and then Kathleen went to certainly much more traditional Irish step dancers costume, and that was a black wool dress. The bottom part, the lining was gold wool, and then we had different Celtic designs intermittently placed around the hem and on the chest, and we turned our sleeves up on the black dress to show the gold lining. They were warm. You have to remember.
I do remember.
Yeah. We were dancing outside in June and July in wool, twice inside and outside. They were very warm. But anyway, that was the most exciting part of 1963 and my travels with the Emerald Dancers.
What a wonderful opportunity.
It was.
And I remember as a young girl, going to one of the fundraisers
For us.
for the Emerald Dancers, and funny enough, you were practicing and battering away, and I looked up at you. Little did I know that you were going to become my best friend and teacher. I said to myself, I want to dance like her.
You flatter me. You were a great dancer. So.
Oh, well, thank you.
You certainly were.
Thank you. I had a good teacher.
There you go.
So, Patty Kay, tell us about one of the highlights on this magical 1963. A young 22-year-old,
Yeah.
beautiful redhead touring Ireland.
Oh, redhead, yes.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
My group traveled, as we said, they were out in Mayo. We went all the way out to the ends of the earth in Belmullet, County Mayo. We had a period in Galway. We were down to Cork. We were at a wonderful, fabulous Arcadia ballroom that had a 5,000 square foot, the size of a football field almost, dance floor.
Wow.
That we danced on. And then another one of the shows was at a little town in County Donegal, and it was a Ballybuffet. I think you're familiar with Ballybuffet.
I am indeed.
And the Butt Hall is where we appeared. And we will always say that the Donegal people, there is nobody more friendly than Donegal people. And the sad part is, in our existence, is the American travelers don't get advised to go a little bit north to Donegal because they would be meeting the most beautiful people in all of Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
So Butt Hall is still standing, there's still dances, and yes, we appeared. And I believe your mom is from that area and probably went to Butt Hall.
It's really so interesting to me to hear that you dance there,
Yeah.
because Mommy would always talk about going to Butt Hall to the dances.
Yeah.
And when I go to Donegal and drive into the town, I'm like, there it is.
Yeah.
There's the famous Butt Hall.
Still
you
there.
know?
Yeah.
And you're right, Donegal people are just so charming, aren't they?
I'm not sure about the extension of generations, but certainly. Yeah.
So, 1963, you had your big tour in Ireland. You're back in America. What was the next adventure?
Well, before I started my next adventure, I stayed on in Ireland for about 3 months. One of the dancers and myself, we both had left our jobs, and we stayed in Ireland, and then we went to visit friends in London, and we toured several countries. So it was a big adventure. In addition to the Irish dancing part, it was a very big adventure. But then I went back teaching. I was helping Kathleen. I was working every weekend with her. I did 4 classes, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, New Haven to Waterbury. Sunday morning was Bridgeport, and Sunday afternoon was Hartford. So it was about 2 years after returning from our Emerald Dancers tour that Kathleen asked me if I would be interested in taking over the weekend classes of the towns that I just named. And I was happy, I was excited to do it. I did Bridgeport and New Haven the same days, and Hartford and Waterbury. And then I had passed those classes on to local dancers because it was just more than I wanted to do at the time. I was working Monday through Friday and then teaching one day on the weekend, and that was...
What was your job?
My real job was working as a secretary for lawyers.
Okay.
I worked for about 12 years for different law firms. So when Kathleen asked me, I was happy to do it for her. I had no interest in starting my own class. I worked with her, or under the Mulcairn name, for must have been close to 20 years. And then Kathleen said she thought it was time for us to move on and make our schools two separate schools. So I did. I started my own school. I became the Lenihan School of Irish Dance.
Excellent. What can you recall, Patty Kay, about the local Feshna? Let's say back in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah. Well, we spoke a little bit earlier, Pat, about the numbers of competitors that were at the competition, the number of awards, or lack of the number of awards that were given to the dancers. And at that time, a teacher did not have to be a certified / registered teacher with commission, which was now here in America. And the advocates, the commission's strongest advocates was one Peter Smith and Cyril McNiff. And they would faithfully attend the feshas that were going on and try to encourage teachers, non-certified teachers, to give serious thought to taking the exam and becoming a registered teacher. And I had many meetings on the field with Peter in particular, who was really dedicated to the task of getting me to take my exam and become part of On Commission.
And do you think he was pursuing that because he saw your success with your students?
I think that probably was certainly part of it. I mean, he was now advocating teachers join On Commission, and I think he would be searching for those teachers that had a high standard, a level that commission would be looking for in a dance teacher. Would you think?
I would think so.
Yeah,
I would think so. In the 1980s, you started the Lenihan School of Irish Dance.
I did.
Can you share with us that journey?
I'd be happy to, Pat. Going back to the 80s, now we've just left the 60s basically in our story, our journey of compiling these archives. In the early 80s, I started the Lenihan School. I was teaching in the same halls I had been teaching in while I was teaching with Kathleen Mulcairn. And new material, I was providing new material for our dancers. But of course the same 4-hand dances done by the book and the 8 hands done by the book. But in addition to new material, we had to think about a new costume for our dancers.
What was your first school costume?
My first school costume was a cream colored dress and a teal, green or blue vest that was tied down the front with the same color string, and then over the left shoulder was a red shawl, and the red shawl had trim, embroidery trim all around the 3 corners, and the skirt, the dress itself, had a pattern on the chest and numerous patterns around the hem of the skirt. Now all of these, you're probably going to ask me, were they hand done?
That was my next thought. At that time,
they were all hand done. Our parents took the job, challenged themselves to learn how to do the embroidery. And we did have a couple of mothers that specifically wanted to do the embroidery for all the kids. So we were very lucky, very fortunate to have mothers that were good embroiderers.
Very, very time consuming.
Very time consuming. A number of our moms were nurses, so they found that if they were working evenings, they had some time. They'd take their embroidery to work with them, in addition to trying to do their job. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. So moving forward with the Lenihan School of Dance, you can witness in the backdrop here these beautiful colors. Can you share with us how you arrived at what you arrived at?
Well, again, the dress that we had, the cream color, was very lovely, looked great on all of our dancers. And then it was time to just really get out there and bring some pop to our Irish dance costumes. And I chose a color which I do believe there was nobody else in not only our state, but in the country that had a fuchsia, this gem in pink, a fuchsia costume.
as you wear so beautifully.
I do love the color, as you can see. There was a school in California, and I think perhaps to this day, that school wears a pink dress, but it's a soft pink. It's not this strong fuchsia dress that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And to contrast the embroidery, we were all into now machine done. And there's also much more embroidery on our fuchsia dress than there ever was on our white dress or any other costumes that we had. So we have far more embroidery, same colors, and beautifully made dresses.
Wonderful. The famous pink and yellow.
Yeah.
In the state
There we
of
go.
And here we are. Isn't it like so funny?
It was not in the script.
So Patty Kane, now you have your Lenihan School of Irish Dancing.
Yes.
And personally, I know how successful your school has been. Can you share with us some of the many highlights in your career?
Well, every win is a highlight of my career, whether it's a beginner or an advanced beginner, whatever level the dancer is at. They come to class the following week and all excited, bringing in their medals. I got first, I got second. That's memories for them, but it's also memories for me, how excited these children are to come in and having received these awards. We compete in local fashion, and we also participate in the New England region, a Oireachtas, which is held every November, like the week before Thanksgiving. And we've competed at the Worlds. We've taken first numerous times at the New England region, both in solos and in teams and traditional set. We do not forget traditional sets that have come to our Oireachtas, so I am not sure just how many years, but not a terribly long time. But we certainly have had great luck with the traditional
Tell us
set.
now about your experience at the Nationals.
Exciting.
Very.
We've done very well at Nationals. Actually, last year, our senior lady took the Nationals. She was first place at the Nationals. And of course, we have competed at the Worlds. We have close to, I think it's close to 100 medals, world medals, that adorn our children now. So yeah, I'm happy and pleased with our successes.
And so you should.
Thank you.
And what's so nice is that the children are experiencing the camaraderie of dancing in teams, as well as working very hard in their solo dancing. And that's quite a remarkable feat.
It is. It's so good for kids, though, dancing in teams. And it becomes so important, actually, in their lives. The work that goes into and the dedication and the idea of meeting your commitment and being part of the team. You have to be there at a certain time. I've gotten messages from our dancers that were team dancers. Beautiful messages that tell me what they thought of me as a teacher and the things that I did. And so many have said in their messages, warm, loving messages, that not only was I a part of their life through Irish dance, but the lessons that they had learned from me doing Irish dance has taken them through their adult lives. And one of the messages I got from one of the dancers is that she has a son, and the things that she learned to me, she has passed on to her son. That's a big compliment to receive.
Not to mention all of the weddings and baptismals and confirmations
That we were part of.
Yes, they become a family.
They do indeed. They do
know?
indeed. We've had great parties and picnics and outings and travel with so many families, different generations. I'm now teaching grandchildren of my original
That's remarkable.
dancers. And you're absolutely right. I think I don't know, but I do think that a lot of teachers in the world of Irish dance take on another whole family
Absolutely.
when they're an involved dance teacher. And to have these dancers tell you how much you have affected their life overall, into their professional lives, not as dance teachers, but as school teachers, but Irish dancing has done for them. It's a big part of our lives.
That's wonderful.
And speaking briefly before, as I was saying, how we've become one big family, you become a family with an Irish dance school, and many of our family members, our step dancers, have gone on to teach Irish dance. They've taken their TCRG. A number of them have, like yourself, have taken their ADCRG and are successfully adjudicating around the world at this point. Knowing I have instilled in them so strong a love of dance, that they have chosen to become teachers and adjudicators makes me very happy, proud, and confident a high standard of dance will be maintained. These students who have been awarded their ADCRG degree include my niece Carleen Moran Stilson, Patricia O'Keefe Murphy, John O'Keefe, and Erin Collins. Carleen has 4 daughters, Mairead, Darren, and Bridget, who have attained their teacher's certification. Her 4th daughter, Kira, is currently taking her grade exams.
Tell us now a little bit about your own family, and were they involved with the school?
My own family is my husband and my children, right? And my own family, my husband Bobby Lenihan, was everybody's favorite person. Everybody in the world that knew Bob loved Bob. Men, women, children. The children say Bobby always, well, to some he was still Mr. Lenihan, but as they got older he became Bob or Bobby. He always knew what was going on in their lives. So the next time he would meet with them, he was able to say, so what's going on in 7th grade now? And how you doing on that soccer team? He was always able to carry on a conversation. Going back years ago, when after class was over, I would stop by your mom's house for a cup of tea. Bobby would come up and meet me up there. And the kids, your sisters and brothers, would jump into his convertible. And we were not supposed to know that they were in his convertible. And he'd start driving away, and we'd get up to the highway and they'd go, they're in the car. So he was the perfect partner for me. He was supportive. He took care of our family when I was at class. And you know, as a dance teacher, your life is not your own. You have a schedule that tells you at this day you're having class from this time to this time. But there's always more issues than that.
Correct.
There's always more issues than going to the class. There's all of the stuff that you have to do that relate to dancing at home, which is one thing, designing your costumes. It takes a great deal of time finding the drawings that you like. Bob was always there. It was away adjudicating a lot. I was away at classes, went away to a fesh almost every weekend, not necessarily judging, but being there to support our kids. And never, ever did I have to worry that, oh my goodness, I can't leave home again. He was there. He was there to pick up what needed to be done, and proudly said, yeah, my wife is an Irish dance teacher.
And that is so very true.
Right?
I think he was your biggest cheerleader.
He was.
And so very, very proud. And as you said, you know, when you are involved in a school and you have a successful school, it's time consuming, and many marriages and relationships have broken up because of that.
Yeah.
You know, so you were very fortunate.
I'm very fortunate.
And I know you were just celebrated your 50 years of marriage.
We did.
To a wonderful human being, you know, and sadly, Bobby has passed away.
Yes.
But he will always be with us.
He will be. He's away, but he's with us. He's not far away.
No, he's not.
My children danced with me until they just had about enough of it. You know, they wanted to go on and do other sports for one. And my son had asked me for well over a year, even though he was in our teams and he was a first place winner in the dance dramas, national and regional, he would say, "Mom, I just don't want to do dancing anymore." So I would coax him to staying through Christmas shows, and 3 months would go by and coax him to staying through Patrick's time. And then at class one day, when I saw that the kids were having more fun listening to him and his jokes, I thought it was better that he not be in the class, and it was time for him to move on. As I said, the three kids danced for years. And Megan, I'm happy to say, has been teaching with us now for more than 20 years. So she's
an integral part of the school.
An integral part of the school. Lenihan's senior team presented this photograph to Patty Kay as a gift to show their appreciation for all her effort extended on their behalf. In front row are Patty Kay's 3 children. On the left, Megan. In the middle, Mary Lee and Ryan Lenihan.
The 1990s brought the sensational river dance to the world stage. What kind of impact did that have on your school?
Impact? Oh my goodness. Wow, wow, wow. What river dance did for Lenihan School and what river dance did for schools, Irish dance schools around the world. I think literally every Irish dance teacher should be giving a little paycheck to Michael Flatley for what he did for us. Our school numbers came close to doubling, actually. And the nicest thing of all was that Irish dance was on everybody's mind. We had never had such a variety of nationalities that were now interested in learning to do Irish step dancing. And we have to remember schools, pre-K programs and kindergarten classes were showing the river dance music tape for that was one way they would get their students to sit nice and quiet, was to watch river dance. So they'd see it in school, they saw it on TV, and river dance, I just so excited about what river dance did for Irish dancing.
It was so nice to hear people acknowledge, oh my goodness, so that's what you do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We went to see Michael Flatley's river dance when it was in New York. That was a great, great day for us. We were able to meet with him after the show and put our arms around him and hug him because he was doing so much for us, really, physically was doing so much for us and for our numbers. In fact, we always had boys in class, maybe six would be a high number at some time. When river dance came, we used to have Friday night out with the boys, and we would have a dance class with boys only with 28 boys.
That is unbelievable.
Isn't that crazy?
That is so exciting.
It was fun for the boys. They loved it, first of all, having a boys only class, and the numbers were just wonderful. Great. Very, very happy. Made us all very happy. We had a great night, Friday night out with the boys.
Fabulous. And talking with your daughter, Megan, who is such an integral part of the school.
She is, yeah.
She has relayed to me how obsessive you are with Irish dancing.
Oh, I thought she was going to say other things to you about me.
That's a conversation for another day.
Okay. I would have to agree with her, Pat. I think I am obsessed. I would talk Irish dance from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. and then start again at 8 p.m. And in our life as adjudicators, etc., we do have that opportunity to talk with our friends from around the world. I do. I mean, I feel like dancing is a disease. Irish dancing, step dancing is a disease.
It's all consuming.
All consuming. All consuming. Every part of you, mostly your heart.
And the interesting part to me is wherever one travels and you're sitting around with your fellow adjudicators, we all think and feel the same.
We do. And we're very strongly opinionated about how we feel and what we think.
Yes, but it's nice to know that we're really kind of all in the same boat, enjoying our highs, enjoying our lows.
Certainly. Yeah.
Oh, let me tell you about this story,
Yeah.
or let me tell you about this one.
Yeah.
We all have that obsessive trait.
It is an obsessive trait, and it is a very strong bond that we have and hold in this community of Irish dance teachers.
And I think it's because we just love it so.
True.
It brings us such joy and happiness to think about taking a dancer from a beginner
who can hardly walk
to a champion.
And the interesting thing about that, taking these little children, is that in grammar school, in a regular school, that child moves along from kindergarten to first grade, to another level, to third grade. And it's always a different teacher that's taking that child. In Irish dancing, we're the teacher. We take that child from hardly able to walk to where they are dancing their best.
So, Patty, I'm going to ask you a serious question. What would you like to be known for in Irish dancing?
Well, I think with my dancers that are now well into their 60s and 40s, and now are youth in college, I think I've achieved what I wanted with them. I think I've achieved not just wins. I think I've made something in their life different and better. So I'm happy to say that my dancers look up to me and respect me as not just a dance teacher, but as a person. As I said earlier, I get beautiful messages from my dancers that just warms my heart. It just keeps me going. From my colleagues, I would be happy knowing they respect my work. They think that I'm a good teacher. I feel like I'm a good teacher, and I would like my colleagues, my fellow teachers and adjudicators, feel the same.
And I think that's so very true.
I hope so.
You know, you're from a very strong region.
Very strong. Very strong. Solos and teams. We have our work cut out for us here. But that's the way it should be. I mean, that's how you want to put forth Irish dancing. You want to get the best for the world to see.
In closing our conversation tonight, I'm so honored to have had this opportunity to have this conversation with you. And one of the last conversations I had with your husband, Bobby, he pulled me over and whispered into my ear, "This is what you were born to do." So thank you for your time tonight. Thank you to our viewers at home. And I hope you enjoyed this journey of Patricia Lenihan, ADCRG, and all of the wonderful contributions that you have made to Irish dancing. And on a personal note, what a wonderful, beautiful impact you have had on my life.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you for being the host here today. You did a beautiful job. I think you made me feel very comfortable all the time that I was answering your questions. I hope our viewers enjoy and gain something from it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What a great, great afternoon we've had here.
Thank you.